Welcome back everybody, quick video today, well, sorta quick. Right off the bat, TLDR, BTK lost this match in the NACT qualifiers because they got outdrafted. And I'm here to give you an analyst point of view on this, so not the drama point of view. Anyway, so if you're interested in the drafts breakdown, stay tuned. Otherwise, yeah, it was just draft issue. I'm going to show you a sneak peek of how I think about drafts a little bit, and this document, if you see it later on, was created and shared way before this match happened, so none of that, oh, you made this after seeing their picks in the comments. But yeah, anyways, so first things we have is the first ban phase in which BTK banned Fanny, Kaja, and Joy versus the Arlott, Glue, and Fredrin from the side of the Forgotten Ones. What this does is it leaves Valentina, Wanwan, Julian, and Faramis open. Of these, BTK chose Wanwan. Forgotten Ones responded with a Valentina and an Edith. At this point, there's still some time to salvage the game and do some damage control. All BTK had to do was not draft super strong ultimates into the Valentina. This is also a really smart play by the Forgotten Ones because normally you don't draft Wanwan without banning or taking Diggy first, so that the enemy can't purify your marks, basically, preventing you from getting your ultimate. However, if BTK did this, Valentina would just always have the Diggy ultimate, and they would basically still not have the Wanwan ultimate while both teams are basically avoiding crowd control. This is why the side of the Forgotten Ones picked Edith. They also could have picked up Lapu or any other XP laner they wanted here. They just specifically chose on Edith because, in their case, Edith has a very strong teamfight presence in tank mode, and she also has a very high DPS output in MM mode. So it's like a 2-for-1 trade. You don't always have a tank, you also have like a DPS on the side of the map where she's at, basically. BTK answered these picks by taking Kadita and Grok, which would normally be fine in a normal draft if there wasn't a Valentina on the enemy team. Grok can still slide by and be a unique pick into the Forgotten Ones because of his CC immunity, but the Kadita pick relies heavily on follow-up sets to be executed properly. Forgotten Ones then drafted the Balut, aka Diggy, and this literally denies the maximum potential of any setter tank, no matter what it is, and of course Wanwan's ultimate. The only type of damage control left here, for the side of BTK, is to draft a jungler that can outburst the enemy Valentina and Diggy to keep them off the battlefield as long as possible. Similar to like an old BTK draft, which is focused heavily on those fights. They would also have to draft in a support like Rafaela that doesn't have an ultimate that benefits the Valentina pick. The Barats and Franco bans then came in from the side of the Forgotten Ones, not letting BTK pick up a suppress, which would have been critical for them, while also not letting them get the dinosaur, which would be immune to a lot of crowd control and is just in general hard to deal with. Personally, I think the dinosaur ban could have gone on to like a Martis, since he can avoid any crowd control at Lord or Turtles and still get the retry, or perhaps a Lancelot or a Julian who can do something similar. As far as BTK goes, they banned Alice, which is valid, but the Melissa ban would have been better spent on like a Lunox or a carry in my opinion, because they could counter any kind of tanky jungler that you might pick, which is what Zane likes to pick basically. Anyway, just as expected, the side of Forgotten Ones picked up the Lunox, which does great into Wanwan by the way, and then begins the worst part of the draft for BTK. They chose Esme. The logic they had here was probably, oh, Diggy shields, Esme profit. The problem is she has very low CC and or burst, so she's annoying to deal with, she's always in your face, but not a really, like, strong output damage potential hero. If they wanted to go something along Esme's kind of guidelines in that sense, I would have said a Harith pick would have been something better, something with a lot more burst than Esme, that can still kind of dance around all that CC and, you know, kind of damage. So then comes the Akai pick, which is into a Diggy, which is already crazy. But into a Diggy and Valentina is insane. Akai has one of the strongest ultimates in the game. It is literally so strong that only like a very few amount of heroes are picked to counter it. Among those, Valentina and Diggy are like top picks. Both together means your heavy spin will not just be countered by Diggy, but if Valentina takes your heavy spin, she can use it against your team, and you can't even stop it, you don't have a Diggy. So this is where I believe BTK lost at. The only thing left for the side of the Forgotten Ones was to take a physical DPS hero, since their draft is heavy on magic, and one that can avoid the heavy spin or wild charge during objectives. There's a couple of heroes that come to mind, such as like Ling, Yi Lancelot, Roger, and Benedetta. Of these, Forgotten Ones picked the Yi, which is a great pick when combined with Diggy specifically, due to not having to face check bushes on important objectives, so you never are getting like that element of surprise on you, which is something that BTK likes to do a lot. You also have like the vision of like any type of backdoor or any other weird related map events that may not be obvious at first. Lastly, here's a little bit of what I was talking about for bans. Just keep in mind that this specific one is tailor-made, the bans are, for the hero pool of the team that this is for, so just FYI, it's not like in general, don't take it that way. I would have a lot more of the Lunox, the Ediths, and the Hereths up there if that were the case, or Martis even, etc, etc. All those heroes I was mentioning earlier, they would probably be in here. This is just specific for that team. So anyways, GG's to Forgotten Ones. Almost perfect draft for you guys, if just a little bit of hiccups, but not as bad, and it didn't, in the end, they didn't capitalize on your hiccups, so nothing bad came from it. But at this level of gameplay, where the question is not really if the team can execute your draft, but the question is who has the better draft to execute, then of course you can see how it plays out. Shown to you with this game, BTK against the Forgotten Ones. The majority of the games are therefore decided in the draft. Best of luck to both teams in NACT. Make sure you guys keep on supporting your NA casters, your NA teams, and your NA content creators. I can see there's definitely interest in the region. We just have to show the world that we do have the ability to play and deserve an MPL region just like other regions of the world.
Do you see the thing was Theo? T might have gotten dropped down pretty low, but it gave them vision on where they started their buff. Mountain Chakra did